If everything collapsed tomorrow, most people wouldn't run out of food first. They wouldn't run out of water. They would run out of ammunition. That single mistake has ended more survival stories than people realize. Right now, millions of Americans are stockpiling ammo, convinced they're prepared for whatever comes next. But the hard truth is this: most of them are doing it completely wrong. They're buying the most popular calibers without thinking long-term. They're stacking heavy rounds they won't be able to carry. They're chasing power instead of sustainability. And in a real SHTF scenario, that kind of thinking turns preparation into a liability. In fact, two of the most commonly stockpiled calibers today would become a serious burden in a prolonged collapse. At the same time, there is one cheap, overlooked round that most people ignore, yet it has quietly kept people alive for years when systems failed. And there is one caliber, just one, that can realistically handle defense, hunting, and even function as trade when money disappears. Today, firepower breaks down the 7 calibers that actually matter when the system fails, and why stockpiling the wrong ammo could get you killed. Now let's be clear, this is not a fantasy. This is not Hollywood. There are no endless supplies, no backup, and no reset button. In a real collapse, there is no electricity, no police response, no open stores, no resupply. In that world, ammunition is more than a weapon. In a real collapse, ammo is food, security, labor, and currency. That's why we ranked these calibers based on availability going into 2026, weight and portability, versatility for both defense and hunting, durability of the platforms that fire them, and long-term sustainability. Because surviving the first week is easy. Surviving the long collapse is what matters. Number 7 on this list surprises a lot of people. And that alone tells you how misunderstood survival really is. The .22 long rifle is often dismissed as weak, insignificant, or only suitable for beginners. But in a real long-term collapse, the .22 LR becomes something far more important than power. It becomes sustainability. The first advantage is simple and impossible to ignore. The .22 LR is cheap, lightweight, and incredibly easy to carry in large quantities. You can store thousands of rounds in the space where other calibers barely fit a few hundred. When mobility matters, when you may need to move quietly, or when resupply no longer exists, weight becomes life. And few calibers respect that reality like the .22. But the real strength of the .22 LR shows itself in how people actually survive long-term collapse. Not by constant fighting, but by steady food acquisition. Small game does not disappear when society breaks down. In fact, it often becomes more available as pressure shifts away from regulated hunting. Rabbits, squirrels, birds, and other small animals can provide consistent protein without the risk, noise, and waste associated with large game hunting, and that leads to another critical advantage: noise discipline. In a prolonged SHTF scenario, firing a loud rifle is not just a shot, it is an announcement. It tells everyone within range exactly where you are. The .22 LR, especially when paired with subsonic ammunition or a suppressor where legal, allows you to hunt and protect resources without drawing attention. That kind of discretion keeps you alive. Another overlooked benefit is accessibility. Almost anyone can learn to use a .22 effectively. Minimal recoil, simple platforms, and forgiving handling make it ideal for every capable member of a group. In survival, redundancy matters. You do not want one person to hold all the skill. Of course, the .22 LR has limits. It is not a fight stopper. It demands accuracy and discipline. But collapse is not about domination. It is about consistency. In a long collapse, calories matter more than power, so ask yourself this: would you rather drop a deer once or feed your family every single day? That question alone explains why the .22 LR earns its place on this list. Number 6 is not about speed, capacity, or modern aesthetics. It is about something far more important when the world stops working: reliability. The .357 Magnum paired with the flexibility of .38 Special represents a philosophy of survival that predates modern convenience. These calibers live in two of the most durable firearm platforms ever built: revolvers and lever-action rifles. No magazines to fail, no springs to weaken, no complex feeding systems that demand perfect conditions. When you pull the trigger, the gun fires. That simple promise becomes priceless in a long-term collapse. One of the greatest enemies of modern firearms is not combat. It is neglect. Dust, mud, moisture, lack of lubrication. In a true SHTF environment, oil runs out, cleaning kits break, spare parts disappear. Semi-automatic firearms, no matter how advanced, are still machines that rely on tight tolerances and consistent maintenance. When those conditions vanish, malfunctions multiply. Revolvers thrive where others fail. Dirt does not stop them. Weak ammunition does not cripple them. A misfire is cleared by simply pulling the trigger again. That mechanical simplicity is not outdated, it is resilient. The lever action adds another layer of practicality. Chambered in .357 Magnum, it offers increased velocity, improved accuracy, and surprising effectiveness for both defense and medium-sized game. And when you switch to .38 Special, recoil drops, noise decreases, and ammunition lasts longer. One firearm, two very different roles. That kind of versatility matters when resources are limited. This dual caliber flexibility also reduces logistical stress. You are not tied to a single pressure load or performance profile. You can train with .38, conserve energy, and reserve .357 Magnum for moments when power truly matters. That balance extends your survivability far beyond raw firepower. Yes, revolvers are slower to reload. Yes, capacity is limited. But collapse is not about winning gunfights. It is about staying functional when everything else breaks down. In a world without spare parts, gunsmiths, or proper maintenance, complexity becomes weakness. And that leads to one unavoidable truth. When maintenance disappears, simplicity becomes power. That is why the .357 Magnum and .38 Special earn their place on this list. Number 5 represents a caliber that has survived more wars, more climates, and more neglect than almost any other modern round. The 7.62 by 39 is not refined, and it was never meant to be. It was designed to function when everything else fails, and that design philosophy makes it brutally relevant in a collapse scenario. This is the caliber of the AK platform, a system built around tolerance, not precision. Loose tolerances mean dust does not stop it, mud does not choke it, cold does not freeze it into uselessness. In environments where cleaning is inconsistent and maintenance is minimal, that matters more than perfect accuracy. In an urban collapse, the world becomes a maze of obstacles. Abandoned vehicles clog the streets. Thin walls separate families from threats. Doors, furniture, and improvised cover become part of the battlefield. This is where the 7.62 by 39 earns its reputation. It punches through barriers that lighter calibers struggle with, retaining enough energy to remain effective on the other side. That penetration is not just about combat, it is about reliability of effect. When you cannot afford uncertainty, when one shot must count, having a round that does not easily deflect or fragment becomes a serious advantage. In ruined city blocks and collapsed neighborhoods, the 7.62 by 39 remains predictable. But this capability comes with real trade-offs. The ammunition is heavy. Carrying large quantities quickly becomes exhausting. The ballistic trajectory is curved, requiring more skill and estimation at distance. Precision shots beyond moderate ranges demand practice and discipline. This is not a forgiving caliber for inexperienced shooters. And yet, survival is not about elegance. It is about durability. The 7.62 by 39 does not pretend to be refined or surgical. It offers consistency instead. It functions in battered rifles. It tolerates poor storage. It keeps working when conditions are hostile and options are limited. In a world of rubble, rust, and rough solutions, that matters. Not elegant, not precise, but brutally dependable. That is why the 7.62 by 39 earns its place as the rugged workhorse at number 5 on this list. Number 4 is not about convenience. It is about certainty. The .308 Winchester represents authority at distance, a caliber chosen not because it is easy, but because when it is needed, nothing else will do the job as decisively. This round delivers serious power. It is capable of ethically taking large game, including deer, elk, and even moose when used correctly. In a collapse scenario, that means real protein, not just survival rations. One successful hunt can feed a family for weeks, and the .308 has the reach and energy to make that possible where lighter calibers fall short. But the true strength of the .308 shows itself in its role as overwatch. In a world without law enforcement or rapid response, distance becomes safety. A rifle chambered in .308 allows you to observe terrain, monitor approach routes, and protect a homestead or rural property from far beyond the effective range of most threats. That standoff capability changes the equation entirely. From elevated positions or long sight lines, the .308 becomes insurance. It discourages approach. It controls space. It gives you options long before danger gets close. In open fields, mountain terrain, or wide rural land, that reach can mean the difference between avoidance and confrontation. However, this power comes at a cost. 308 ammunition is heavy, and carrying large quantities is physically demanding. Recoil is substantial, especially for inexperienced shooters, and follow-up shots require discipline and training. Storage space fills quickly, and every round represents more weight and more effort. This is not a caliber meant for daily use or constant movement. It is not ideal for small game, close-quarters defense, or high-volume shooting, and treating it that way wastes its true value. The .308 Winchester exists for moments when distance matters, when authority must be asserted, and when there are no second chances. It is the tool you reserve, not the tool you burn through. This is not your daily use caliber. This is your last resort authority. That is why the .308 Winchester stands at number 4 as long-range insurance in a collapsed world. Number 3 earns its position not because it is subtle, but because it can do almost everything. The 12-gauge shotgun is the closest thing firearms have to a true survival multi-tool. It is not specialized for one task. It is adaptable to nearly all of them. No other platform offers the same level of flexibility. With a simple change of ammunition, the shotgun transforms its role entirely. Birdshot allows you to hunt small game and birds without destroying valuable meat. Buckshot provides devastating close-range defensive capability, especially in confined spaces. Slugs extend the shotgun's reach, delivering serious stopping power against larger threats and even medium-sized game. That versatility is why the shotgun is often compared to a Swiss Army knife. It may not be the best tool in every category, but it is the tool that can step into almost any role when options are limited. In a collapse scenario, this matters. One day, you are quietly hunting birds to stretch your food supply. The next, you may need to defend a doorway, hallway, or narrow interior space. Few firearms transition between those roles as effectively or as intuitively as a 12-gauge. Inside a home, the psychological and physical impact of a shotgun cannot be ignored. The platforms themselves are simple and durable. Pump-action shotguns, in particular, tolerate neglect and harsh conditions well. They require minimal maintenance, function with a wide variety of loads, and are easy to keep running without specialized tools or parts. But this flexibility comes with real limitations. Shotgun ammunition is bulky and heavy. You will never carry thousands of rounds the way you can with smaller calibers. Recoil is significant, especially with defensive loads, and prolonged shooting can be physically exhausting. Capacity is limited, and reloads are slow under stress. This means the 12-gauge demands discipline. You choose your shots carefully. You use it when its strengths matter most. The shotgun is not elegant. It is not lightweight, but it is honest. It does exactly what you ask of it across more situations than almost any other firearm. If you can only carry one gun, this might be it. Number 2 is not about maximum power or long-range dominance. It is about presence. The 9mm earns its place on this list because it is the caliber most likely to be with you when collapse actually happens. In a real-world failure, disasters rarely announce themselves. They unfold during normal routines, at work, on the road, at the store. The rifle locked at home does nothing for you in those moments. The firearm that matters is the one already on your body. That is where the 9mm excels. Compact, controllable, and widely adopted, it is the most common defensive caliber in the world. Ammunition is affordable, easy to stockpile, and widely available. Magazines offer high capacity without excessive bulk, allowing you to carry meaningful defensive capability without drawing attention. The role of everyday carry becomes even more critical during collapse. You are not always looking for a fight. Often, you are trying to avoid one. A concealed 9mm allows you to move, observe, and disengage without escalating situations unnecessarily. It does not announce itself. It does not slow you down. It stays with you when you cannot afford to be separated from protection. From a logistical standpoint, the 9mm also shines. Training is manageable. Recoil is moderate. Most shooters can develop effective proficiency quickly. That matters when stress is high and decisions must be made fast. In close-range encounters, shot placement outweighs raw power, and the 9mm supports rapid, accurate follow-up shots. Of course, the 9mm has limitations. It is not ideal for hunting. It lacks barrier penetration compared to rifle calibers, and it does not project authority at distance, but it was never meant to. Its purpose is immediate defense, not prolonged engagement. In collapse, time and proximity matter. Threats appear suddenly and at close range. When they do, the gun already in your hand is worth more than any weapon stored elsewhere. In chaos, the gun you have on you beats the rifle you left at home. That reality is why the 9mm stands at number 2 as the everyday carry of collapse. Number 1 is not chosen because it is the most powerful. It earns the top position because it is the caliber most likely to keep working when the collapse stretches from weeks into years. The 5.56 by 45, also known as .223 Remington, is the foundation of sustainable survival. Weight is the first advantage. Compared to larger rifle calibers, 5.56 is light. That single factor changes everything. You can carry more ammunition, move faster, and stay mobile longer. In long-term collapse, mobility is survival. Ammunition you cannot carry might as well not exist. Availability is the second factor. The 5.56 ecosystem is massive. Before collapse, it is one of the most common calibers in circulation. During collapse, that translates to scavenging potential, trade value, and compatibility. When everyone uses the same round, logistics simplify. That matters more than raw power. The AR-15 platform is where this caliber truly separates itself. Parts are everywhere. Components are interchangeable. Repairs can be improvised. Barrels, bolts, magazines, and springs are widely understood and easily replaced compared to more specialized systems. When something breaks, the rifle does not become useless, but the real strength of 5.56 shows itself in group survival. A shared platform means shared magazines, shared ammunition, and shared knowledge. One person goes down, another can pick up the rifle and keep it running. No unique calibers, no proprietary systems, just standardization. From a performance standpoint, 5.56 offers balance. It is effective for defense, capable for medium game with proper ammunition, and controllable under stress. It is accurate enough to discourage threats at distance without the weight and recoil penalties of heavier calibers. This is not the round for extreme power. It is not designed to dominate large game or punch through every barrier. But collapse is not about dominance. It is about sustainability. This isn't the most powerful caliber. It's the most sustainable one. That is why the 5.56 by 45/.223 stands as the survival standard at number 1 for firepower. Now that you've seen all 7 calibers, one truth should be clear. Most people don't fail in a collapse because they lack weapons. They fail because they plan poorly. One of the most common mistakes in stockpiling is choosing a single caliber and believing it can solve every problem. Survival does not work that way. Another critical error is choosing ammunition based on power alone. Big numbers on paper mean nothing when logistics collapse. Heavy rounds slow you down. Rare calibers isolate you. And specialized systems break when parts disappear. In long-term survival, simplicity and sustainability always win. A realistic survival loadout is not complicated. A .22 LR keeps food on the table quietly and consistently. A 9mm stays on your body when everything starts to fall apart. And a 5.56 rifle provides defensive capability, mobility, and standardization when group survival becomes necessary. Each caliber has a role, and together they cover reality, not fantasy. This is the difference between collecting weapons and preparing for collapse, because guns don't save lives. Planning does. Now it's your turn. What calibers are you currently stockpiling? After watching this breakdown, would you change anything about your strategy? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Real discussion builds real preparedness. If this video helped you think differently about survival, make sure you subscribe to Firepower. We don't chase trends here. We focus on what actually works when everything else fails. Stay prepared. Stay realistic. And we'll see you in the next Firepower video.